Hi, welcome to Posca Club. In today's video we're going to draw like a sci-fi character with well, a face mask, a sci-fi style face mask on. Okay, we're going to also throw quite a lot of colours at it, so let me show you what colours we're going to use today. There we go. I told you, quite a lot of colours in there. Now I'll just quickly run through all of these colours and why we're using all of these colours, in which area we're using them. Okay, so you can see most of these top half from there, you know, most of them actually, from down here to the top, they're all two tones. So for example, you've got a light and a dark shade of yellow, light and a dark shade of blue, that kind of thing. So go with that as much as possible, because we're going to put loads of light and darks in. Okay, so this bit, yellow, ochre and yellow, this is going to be for the eye mask, or the VR headset kind of section. Sky blue and light blue is going to be for the part of the helmet. Same with aqua and emerald green, part of the helmet. Cacao and brown I'm going to use as the skin tones today. Deep grey and grey, probably just throw in some cables later on, just random cables later on. And these two, lilac and lavender, kind of optional, these two, because these I may use in the background. We'll see how we get on today, but I may use those in the background. Pink is important. This real vibrant bright pink is going to work really nice on top of this yellow in part of the eye mask, the VR headset. Black and white obviously as our safety pens. Also have yourself a couple of smaller black pens as well. So I'm probably, that's a 5M there, all of these are 5Ms, but I'm probably going to use a 3M for most of my outlining. Same with the 1MR for most of my outlining. Okay, right then, let's let me hide that and let's get started, shall we? Let's move all of these out of the way. I'm going to use this small piece of cardboard. You can see how big it is by the size of my hand. It's kind of like A4 kind of width, but obviously a lot squarer. And we're going to go straight in with our colours. No pencil marks in there today. We'll go straight in with our colours. So we're going to put the eye mask bit in there first. And for the VR headset section, the eye mask, I'm going to use these two yellows. So use the darker colour. We're going to use the darker colour first on each of these sections so that we can cut it out with the lighter colour afterwards if we need to. Now what I'd suggest is about a third of the way down. At that point, that is where we're going to do a half circle. Nothing too big, a little half circle like that. Let me zoom in a little bit actually, because I need you to be able to see this really well. There we go, in a little bit closer now so you can see all these lines. Half circle, got that in. Next thing we're going to do is just coming away from that half circle, we're going to draw a little square. So it's going to start about there. So let's draw I think about that size will do. A little square in there. You see how the top of that square is just a little bit above the circle. Bottom of the square is quite considerably below the circle. Okay. Right, let's join these bits together. So we'll just draw a little line across and down just there. And then this one, let's have a little line going in like that. That's going to become our face mask. Let's go and throw. Should we throw? No, let's not throw in shadows yet. Let's just concentrate on guidelines first. So there's our first bit. Now sticking with this ochre, I'm going to go and put the head in. Now when we come to do the head is going to be like an aqua colour. But I'm going to go in with yellow because this aqua colour is going to have some yellow horns kind of sticking out of it. So rather than going in with aqua and then making it difficult to colour in over that aqua with yellow, we're going to go in with yellow because it's easier to colour aqua over the top of yellow. Okay. Anyway, let's just carry on drawing. Just copy what I'm doing, you'll be fine. What we're going to do is just a little curve. This is going to be for the head of our character. So a little curve that goes round off the page like that. That's the forehead of our character. In fact, should we go and stick in those horns right now, shall we? So what we're going to do is 3 horns across the front, little triangles. Now you want to leave a reasonable amount of gap in between them, because then what we're going to do is going to put 2 more horns in there. Let me get right close in so you can properly see what we're doing here. There we go. We're going to put 2 more horns in there. So watch this, just there. And a smaller one just there. Now as we close those off, just a little curve down the bottom like that. To close those shapes off. I hope that makes sense. Well, there are your first few lines. Now let's go in with a little bit of cacao brown to go and draw the face. So if you remember, I'm using 2 skin tones. You want to use the darker skin tone first because we're going to put the cacao brown in. Make some of those shadows disappear a little bit later. So over here, this is where we're going to put it in. Are you ready for this? So what we want to do is we just want to put in a short bit of nose. So coming out of there, a short bit of nose, a little L shape like that. It's got a curve round a little bit because that's the tip of the nose. The rounder, the better. Let's curve it around like that. And then what we'll do is we're going to put in, we're going to go like a almost full circle into a top lip. Like that. Bit of an S shape in there, okay. Little V shape, this is going to be for the top lip, inside of the lip, bottom lip, just there. Finish this bit off with another little squiggle like that. Okay, so important bit to remember is that little V shape there. That's the lips that's coming out there. The rest we can tweak as we go along if we need to. Okay, did you get that? Let's go and pick up our emerald next and put some emerald lines in. So I'm using aqua and emerald just there. So the darker of those is the emerald colour. And let's go and throw in some extra shapes there. Now, rather than doing the chin, so we're going to make this look like a character, like a person, like a human. But rather than doing the whole thing, which is going to be really complicated to get everything just right, getting everything in proportion, what we're going to do is going to cover loads of it up with masks and metalwork and stuff like that. Okay, so that's where this comes in. So watch this. We're going to take a little line there. And let's bring it up off the page like that. That angle, we're going to use that angle quite a lot, so just bring this line down the same angle as that. So what's going to really make this work is having all these angles the same. I'm just going to move that so you can see the bottom of the page because I don't want you to go off the bottom here. Ready for our next section. We're going to draw a rectangle in here. So let's go like that. Again with those lines at that angle. Let's go about that distance. Doesn't matter if you go a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. Let's just get that a bit straighter. There we go. Bit of a rectangle. The tip of this rectangle we're going to extend a little bit as well. So yeah, watch this. Just out. Let's do another one. Lovely stuff. We're getting there. Let's you see the gap you've got just there? Bring a line in from there. Same kind of gap there. Just bring a little line in and let's chop that off. So we've got a little rectangle there. See how it's just central at the end of this rectangle? We've got that smaller rectangle. Coming off of that, what we're going to do is just curve a little line round and then let's just take it across off the page like that. All looking good. Last section. Let me zoom out a little bit more. Last section then is, this is with the blues. I'm going to do this. So light blue is obviously the lighter colour. Sky blue is the slightly darker colour that I'll be using. So we're just going to add in a few little blue sections to this as well. So let's go and put in a blue section up here on the head. So let's take it from there and go across like that. Doesn't matter too much how you put these in. We can freestyle this quite a lot in here. Down here, let's go and put something in this cheek. So how about something that goes from about there across like that. Again, that's not very straight. I want to just try and get it a little bit straighter. That's better. And something underneath the chin, around the neck kind of area. We want to make that bit work better for us. So let's just take a little line out there. And then maybe a line coming down there. I think that'll do. We probably will, this space, you can see there's quite a lot of space down here. This is where I was thinking about doing the cable. In fact, let's throw that cable in now. Let's not mess around with it. Let's throw it in now. So for the cables, I was going to use grey and dark grey. So grab your darker grey first, and let's just throw in a cable that's going to be coming from this point, and just kind of going across there. And we'll add some smaller, thinner cables, but I wanted to put that big chunky one in first. Okay, there's all your guidelines. See how we've got loads of space over on this side, and you see how, like, with a bit of scrap cardboard, I don't mind if it's got a bit of tape sitting on it as well. That's fine by me. Right, let's go and throw some colour on this now, shall we? We're going to go and put some shadows on. Then we'll put some highlights on. Then we'll outline, and then we'll add those like little finishing details. So let's start with the yellow and the ochre. So we're going to put the shadows on first. So grab the ochre, slightly darker colour. Remember these horns that we did kind of sticking out the top? Let's go and colour the back half in of each horn, just thickening it out like that. I'm not sure you can see that, so I will zoom in a little bit closer. There you go. So just the back half of that horn. Into the VR mask. Let's do a big swoosh from here. Look, all the way up there. Colour that bottom half in. This circle that we've got at the bottom, let's just thicken out the bottom half of that circle like that. That's all we need in there. Where do we go to next? Let's go to the face next. That was the next bit we did, wasn't it? So down here, cacao brown, so the darker of your two browns, we're going to throw in some shadows. Now remember, when you're throwing in shadows, you are going to get rid of quite a lot of it. So it doesn't matter if you go a little bit big with the shadows. I kind of think that works. What we're going to do here, though, is just going to bring that line across, curve round like it's the nostril of the nose, and then join that into the top lip. So we've got a big section there that's coloured in. We're also then going to we're going to colour in the top lip. So my suggestion is, from this V shape, we're going to draw a line going to the right hand side, then with a little curl up right at the end, okay? So from the right hand side, little curl up to make our character smirk just a little bit. Go from the top of that lip, connect it all together. Remembering what I was saying about if you go too big with the shadow, don't worry about that, because we are going to make it a lot smaller later. And let's just throw in just a little dark shadow here as well, just underneath the bottom lip. And there are more shadows that we'll put in towards the edge. So for example, these shadows are like, some shadows are shadows because of the shape of the object. some shadows are shadows because there's something else casting a shadow on them. So for example, this mask will be casting a shadow on here. So, but we'll add the cast shadows a little bit later. I find them easier to add later. Next, we're on the aqua and emerald green section down here. So go and grab the darker colour, which was that emerald green. These long bits, let's colour like halfway. Colour those bits in like that. The other bit, we're just going to colour in from across there, I think. Let's go about there. Just colouring in that bottom half. Same with this bit, bottom half. Just trying to think what, you know, roughly where would the shadows be in all of this. We've got this other section out here, so let's go and put in a shadow like that. Just having it curl up at the end just to give it a little bit more shape. Good stuff. Let's go and do the blue sections now. So sky blue was the colour I was using because that's the darker of the colours. Let's start at the top, work our way down on this bit. So let's go and put a shadow in like just here, look. So it doesn't really matter too much where you put these shadows in, just give it a bit of a hint of a shadow. Let's go and put one in just here. Not thinking too much about it. At the moment we're just kind of making a bit of a mess on the artwork, just chucking colours in, seeing how it goes. Down here I'm kind of thinking this is so far below everything that we're not really going to see much light in there. So I'm just going to colour the whole thing. Across there and across there. I'm just going to colour the whole thing in. A couple more shadows to add in. We're going to, let's go and put in the grey. Deep grey first, the darker of the greys. Bottom half of this cable. Go and thicken that out like that. What else? There is one last little bit. Let me just zoom out, which was the head there. So this part of the head we're going to do in this colour. We're going to bring this aqua and emerald back into the top part of the head. Okay, now we are gonna, these horns are gonna cast shadows, so I don't want this shadow for the shape to interfere with that. So grab your emerald green again and we'll just put a little shadow around here. Look, just coming from about there, just a little shadow across there. And maybe that goes behind and just comes out at the top there. Look, just to continue it. Looks good. Nice. Right, let's carry on. We're just going to give that a few seconds to dry, and then what we'll do is we'll carry on with the highlight colours next. So giving that a few seconds to dry. You know, if you've got a hairdryer, just give it a blast with a hairdryer. If I was drawing this properly, that I'd probably move on to another piece of artwork now whilst I wait for that to dry. Always have like 2 or 3 pieces on the go at any one time. Any kind of mistakes that you've made? So the only glaring mistake I can see is I think I may have made this nose just a little bit too long. I think it's okay for the time being, but it might be a little bit too long. Any mistakes like that, don't worry about it. Just keep on working with it for the time being. We can always fix little mistakes like that later on. Okay. Okay, let's go for it then. Let's go and put some highlight colours in. Now, starting with those yellows again, we've used ochre for all the shadows. Let's go back to let's go to a lighter yellow. This is just a regular yellow. We'll start at the top. We'll start at the top, work our way down on this bit, okay? Let me get in a little bit closer. How's that? So starting at the top, what we're going to do is colour the front half of all these horns in yellow. Now we are going to get rid a lot of the line that we, the guideline that we used when drawing this. Okay, so for example, let's just cross there. It's okay. Get rid of a little bit of that guideline. Let's repeat that for the other horns. Ideally, the bottom part of the horn does need to be kind of round. Want to reinforce that these horns are, I don't know, there's probably a word for it, but like round at the bottom, pointy at the top. Already you can see a little bit of shape coming out of there. You can always start seeing more shape when you start adding the second colours. Stick with that yellow. Let's go and put the highlight colour on the mask. So again, we're kind of going over quite a lot of the line there. Take it down to the shadow. Let's go across. I like to outline the whole section first and then colour it in. Now, one thing that's pretty typical about yellow is it is quite transparent. It's very difficult to get an opaque yellow straight out the pack. It does take quite a lot of work to get your yellow looking opaque. Main way of doing that is just make sure you shake your pen up loads. Shake it up loads and then prime it loads as well. Priming it is where you press the nib into the barrel, and then on a scrap piece of card just be scribbling. Just carry on scribbling, and what it does is it pulls all that fresh opaque paint through the nib as you're scribbling. Pressing it down every now and then will kind of fill the nib up a little bit, but for me it's you want to get rid of all that kind of transparent paint that's in the nib, and the best way of doing that is just by drawing it out. Alternatively, you know, do like me, just don't get too stressed about it, just enjoy the colouring in. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit patchy, a little bit streaky. As soon as we put the black lines on, you kind of lose a little bit of this streakiness. It kind of falls into the background quite a lot, so don't worry too much about that. Alternatively, let's give it a second coat, you know, it's as easy as that. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying not to get colours touching each other that are wet. So I'm going to work down a little bit more. I'm going to work down on this section here, this aqua and emerald section. So they're my two colours, aqua and emerald. I've already used the darker colour, so I'm going to park that. I'm going to use the lighter emerald colour. And pretty much everything across that section there that is not coloured in, I'm going to go and now colour in. So what I'll do is I'll outline it first. For me it's just easier to do when I'm colouring in anyway, to outline it first and then colour in what's left. Because that way I don't have to think too much about it. At this stage, now I've outlined it, it's like just colouring. Try and stay in between the lines, then you're good. Of course it doesn't matter if you go outside the lines, just whack some colour on. If you make little mistakes, Poscas are really easy to fix. You can just make something a little bit bigger, you know, especially with this kind of thing. You know, I like drawing zombies because when you draw a zombie, if you make a mistake, you can just add a lump on its head and stuff like that, and it looks better. And the same with this kind of thing. You make a little mistake, then you're just going to add another little chunk of metal somewhere. Do you know what I mean? It's going to look better by adding all these extra bits in there. Brilliant. You can definitely see some shape coming out there. That's good. Let's carry on. So again, I'm not going to touch anything down here. This is all kind of wet still, so I'm going to go back up the top. In fact, I'm going to keep that aqua back up the top, and let's go and colour around this. Now we're going to have to be really careful, colour around the horns as much as possible. And then just take it right up to the edge there. So let's outline first. Now don't forget, we are putting, there's going to be a lot of black lines going all around this, so it doesn't matter too much if these lines that you're doing now are not perfect. But just get in as tight as you can, as close as you can, to outline that bit. Now this next bit, you see how we've got this chunky bit, big fat 5M nib line just there. This is why I like putting the lighter colours over the top, because what we can do now is, as we go across there, we can just take that bit out, taper it out around the top, taper it out. See how we get like a sharp point there now? Instead of that big fat line that we had originally, it's now become a real fine sharp line. So I know some of you, when you're buying your Posca pens, think, right, I need to get every colour, every size, and there's nothing wrong with that if you want to go for that. But my preference is, you know, go for favourite colours in a 5M, and then get your black pens in every size. But you can colour in really small sections with a 5M just by cutting out, just by doing that, just by putting another colour over the top. Okay, that will look a lot better when we put the little shadows in for the horns, but for the time being that is good. Let's see, let's have another little check in, see how it's looking. Right, let's leave all that to dry. Let's go into the face next. So I was using cacao brown and brown for the face, cacao being the darker, so just go with the brown colour next. And we're going to chop out, we're going to get rid of loads of these dark brown lines. We're going to really taper off the edges of some of these shadows as well. So down here, that's the section we're going to do next. So watch this. What we'll do is underneath the nose, you would expect to see a little bit of a shadow. So we're going to leave that shadow there. But starting about there, let's go across like that. Go across, and as you get to the nostril part, just a little curl up. This bit here, let's go right into the tip of the lip there. Curl it around like that. Across the top of the mouth again with a view of tapering it out, so make sure you've got that curl up at the end there. From the middle up across. Just take a little bit more out there. Got that slight curve up there, that's really important. Finish off down with the bottom lip and around the shadow. Let's go and outline the rest now, which is across there, up there, around that bit. Just going around the edge of all this metal work that we've got. So we've outlined it, now let's colour it in. At this stage we can start having our first glance of whether this works as a face, whether my worry that the nose was going to be a bit too big is anything to actually worry about or not. How's that looking? It's not too bad, is it? I think the nose is sticking out a little bit too much. Might have to change the shape of that, especially when it kind of comes down like with a little point there. So I will tweak that a little bit later. It's okay for the time being. Okay. Don't stress about it too much. I don't think anybody else would notice that the nose was kind of knobbly on the end. But yeah, we'll fix that later. Awesome, that's looking great. I really like that. Let's go and put in some more highlight colour. So where are we now? It looks like blue is the next section for me. So I've used sky blue. Just going to use the light blue now to finish off these extra sections of spacesuit. Let's go across there. Outline it, colour it in. Same down here, look. Outline it, colour it in. Last little bit. Grey, dark grey, which we use for the cable. So we've used the dark grey, let's go and use the light grey, and we're just going to put in the top of our cable now. Looking good. Last little bit. Last important bit anyway is let's go and put in that drop shadow on the little horns. So we're in this section here. In fact, let's put in a few drop shadows everywhere. So yeah, these horns definitely going to be casting a little shadow on this aqua. So we're going to use our shadow color there, which is the emerald, and what we're going to do is we're going to add some little kind of triangles coming off the bottom. So just think about where your source of your light is. Which I'm going to have down here. Adding these little tiny shadows. Remember I said about how that mask is probably going to be casting a shadow as well, so let's go and fix that. I reckon across there, look. Up there, around there, that's where the shadow is going to be on that. And remember I said this nose was kind of bugging me. I just want to flatten that bit a little bit so it's a little bit straighter. That's better. Don't get me wrong, some people do have noses like that, that's fine. You go with whatever you want to go with. Yeah, that's good. Don't think there's going to be too much in the way of any other cast shadows there. Okay, let's go and just do a little bit of work with that cable. Go and grab your deep grey, your darker grey. What we're going to do is just section off that cable a little bit. So just put some lines, look. Going out like that. And then I just want to put that cable back a little bit because it's one of the last things we coloured in. It is kind of sitting on top of some of these other sections. Now, it's not such an issue because the black lines will probably hide it all, but let's just tidy it up a little bit. So you see this cable, it just looks like it's sitting on top. So what I'm going to do is take the emerald green look just here, just give it a little line across there. You see how it's just sending that cable a little bit further back. Same on the other side, we were using sky blue just there. Let's just draw a little line. There we go. Just sends that cable behind. What do you think? That is kind of halfway stage. That is guidelines and colouring in all done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause I'm going to fast forward the video as I give a few little bits a second coat. So feel free to join in with me. Well, feel free to pause the video if you're going to give yours a second coat, because it will go by in like 2 seconds. If you don't want to give it a second coat, then let's just carry on. Okay, that's your second coat done. It looks a little bit better, which is nice. One thing I forgot to mention, when you're doing your second coat, what you can do, definitely, even if you're not doing a second coat, just quickly give these shadows a little bit more finesse. So what we're going to do with those, just go over them again. really sharpen out the points. So watch this. Look, just here. Let's sharpen out those shadows. See how sharp they are now? The tip of that shadow is much sharper. Now we've cut that out. Awesome, there's our second coat. We're going to now work on some outlining. Now the main thing with the outlining is we're going to give everything an outline, well not everything, most of it, an outline with a 3M. That's about the right size. It's about the size of my hand, so 3M is about the right size. Then what we'll do is we'll go in with a 1M and we'll just add some extra little details with the 1M, okay? Yeah. This is good. We are going to add some other bits, you know, when we come to the finishing touches right at the end of this session, we'll add some other little bits. Show you how to have a little bit of fun with it, a little bit of graffiti maybe on the side, some extra little lights and stuff like that. Anything you like. Now my suggestion is let's go and work top to bottom on this. It's always the easier way to go. Everything's going to be double lined. You've got a 3M. I've got a nice new 3M. So let's go and outline our horns first. You see my outlining nice and wonky. Wonky's okay. We get away with that. You're just outlining the yellow bit for the time being. Don't worry about those shadows. Don't get into caught out into outlining the shadows, because you don't need to do that. Just the yellow bit down the bottom there, up to the point. Double line everything because wonky lines, it's much easier to draw. If you can adapt those wonky lines into being part of your style, your artwork will look a lot better as well. That's good. Now remember, the flow of a 3M pen can be a little bit slow, so just keep it primed as much as possible. Now, do you remember right at the start of the session we did this D shape just hanging out the back here? We're going to go and outline that again. It was about there. Let's give it another line. Inside there though, let's give it one more. Concentrate on shrinking that circle so it's smaller than the line. Forget about the shadow. It wants to be smaller than the original D. Cool, let's go and outline the mask now. I'm getting a little bit closer for the mask because there's just a few little details I want us to try and get just right. One is we're not going to put any like sharp corners on, just try and round those off a little bit. So for example, across there, look, try and round it off a little bit. I kind of like that. As we go down the other end, we're going to put in like an S shape. So just work your way across the little S shape just there. Down the bottom, round it off a little bit, cross the nose, and then joining it up. You see how wonky my line is? It's a little bit all over the place, so I'm just going to quickly clean the nib. When I say clean the nib, I just mean like scribbling on a bit of spare paper or card until all the bits of the fibres from the card or whatever you're using, or other colours, till they come off. That's all I mean. There's no special tool for it. Alright, let's go and double line all of this then. Just thickening it out. Some bits are going to be thicker, some bits are going to be thinner. Down the front here. Underneath the bottom. Yeah, that looks nice. Let's just throw in a couple more lines here. So just down here, you remember that original square that we put in? Let's bring that square back. Look at the top and the bottom of those lines. You see how it's just kind of tucked in a little bit? Curved in. Let's do another little line just there. Again with the bottom and the top. Bringing those lines, adding a little curve to them. One more little line on there. Let's just draw over here, so be careful you don't smudge anything over here. Take a little section out. I think that'll do. We'll come back to that with some fatter lines. Let's carry on up the top though, because can we reach that? If you can reach that, you might need to wait for this little bit to dry here, but if you should be able to just reach over, or even on your piece, just, you know, turn it around a little bit. But let's just go around the top of the head. You're not going to see many bits through those horns. At the top of the head, round this blue bit we've got here as well. So yeah, fat lines first. We'll do some skinny lines later. Let's get down here and carry on with the bottom half. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that chin section first. I just want to get that out of the way with, and then we'll move on to the face right at the end. So let's put these rectangles back in. There's our first two rectangles. In that big rectangle that we did, a little bit of it's behind these smaller rectangles. And that little rectangle hanging out here, look. And then going up to the lip, across the mouth, just doing the aqua section, the emerald section. Same with the underside here. Let's go and do that next. So under there and then across, double line it. Up top, let's go and do this blue section. Down below we'll do the blue section as well. So do you remember we did that bit first? Tucked it in there. Then we added this extra line down here. for where I'd expect the throat to be. We're going to carry on with, let's do the cable down the bottom here. The other thing about the double lines is, you know, I'm using an old salvaged piece of cardboard which has got loads of bumps and lumps in it, so double lining kind of allows you to get away with those lumps and bumps. Like I say, as long as you're consistent with those double lines, it should be fine. Give that a few seconds to dry. We'll go and do the face next. Now again, with the face, we're going to tuck in quite close, but we are going to taper out with the cacao brown if we can a little bit later. So once that's dry, let's go around the nose again. And a little flick. Not too much of a flick in there. Curve round into that top lip, bottom lip, chin. Just double line all of that. We'll just flick a we'll flick a little line with the thinner pen. What we're going to do now is we are going to go over to our thinner pen. We're going to add some little guidelines with some outlining with the thinner pen as well. It's going to make everything start looking a lot better. So let me zoom out so you can have one little last look at how yours should be looking. That's kind of where we're at this stage. Let's whip ourselves back to the top with a thinner pen, and we're going to start putting on some thin black lines now. So here we go, starting at the top again. In these cones, these little horn bits, what I want to do is I want to make them look, I want to reinforce the shape of them a little bit. So you see this curve that we've got at the bottom, we're going to bring that curve up onto the horn somewhere. So like this, look. Two little bits like that. That is a really black has just come out really transparent there. Let's just gonna have a little scribble. Let me just show you. You can see like that black line. The paint isn't quite as opaque as I want it to be. So yeah, in instances like that, what I'll do is I'll just scribble, just trying to pull through the more opaque paint through the nib. Problem is, if you keep priming, if you keep pressing down, all that happens is the paint, the fresh paint, just starts to flood around the outside edge. The only way of kind of getting it into the nib is by emptying the nib, which you do by scribbling or drawing with it. Let's right there. Let's try that one more time. So let me get right in to the top. Let's go over those lines. So even though we're using skinny lines, you can still double line it. So let's go and do that. Look, to the top, to the bottom, that kind of thing. Let's do a little different shape. Look, watch this. So down there and across there like that. Not bad. And this last one, let's just split this one in half. And maybe put some extra sections in. You know, just have a little bit of fun with it. Whatever you want to put in there, let's put some dots in there as well. Fantastic. Let's go and separate out now. Let's create a bit of a shape on the head here. So we're going to take a line. We're going to be really brave with this one. We're going to put a line all the way through from here down like that. Same at the front here. Let's just take a little line at the front just to take a little section out. And I think that'll do for the time being. Let's move down a little bit into this visor. First thing I'm going to do is just add a few extra little lines in here. So let's go and put a little half circle here. Once you've practiced your half circle there, let's go and do one on the bit of the back here as well. Look. Any old little shapes look like that, just have a bit of fun with it. What else can we do? Let's go and put a little square bit just there. I like those. Let's do a few more. And that's generally a rule for me, is if you like what you're doing, carry on doing it. If it's not working out, then don't do it anymore. It's really as easy as that. Let's put little sections in here. Let's say we're going to go up, across, down, little panels and things. Don't think about it too much, just throw them in. Five lines in a row there. Looks like little air vents. Nice. Keep this bit free inside there. We are going to put some little lights in there in a second, so yeah, don't put too much stuff in there. Let's get down a little bit. Let's add some detail to these bits at the bottom. So down here, let's go and put in some more lines. Let's go from there. Look. Something like that, a little half circle at the top, a little half circle at the bottom, maybe a little small circle. Don't think about it too much, just chuck the lines in, see what works, what doesn't work. Let's go and put some lines in here as well, right on the edge. Yeah, kind of like how that looks. Let's go and separate some of that. In fact, yeah, I think that bit's okay. Let's put some little, you know, those little vents that we put in at the top. Let's go and put some bigger ones in here. Look. So little black sausages just hanging out there. Yeah, that looks nice. Separate this off. Let's put a little section in. So again with the thin line, let's go up there. Let's do another one that goes across. No reason for it, just because. Let's go and put in a little section here as well. Just playing with it, just adding these little sections in. I'm really liking those half circles that we're adding, so I'm going to keep on adding those in. under here, what we're going to do under here, let's go, let's leave that bit because I might just throw some little cables, some last minute cables in there, so we'll leave that bit tidy. Now this cable down the bottom, we're going to separate that off, so we are going to put a little line with our thin pen across there, so just on this side, look, this side of that dark grey line that you did. And then maybe on there is some little half circles and bits of furniture here and there. So I wasn't sure whether to do this, but with the thin pen, let's just go and put a little flick in that mouth. I just want to put an extra little shadow in that mouth just there. Maybe the same here. Just flick that up a little bit. Lovely. Let's zoom out, see how we're looking. We're getting there. This is looking really nice now. So what we're going to do now, we've got like most of our main lines, we've got some secondary thinner lines in there to really add some extra detail to it. What I want to do now is just, this is the best bit about Posca Pens, is the ability to be able to add extra stuff on here. So we're going to do things like, we're going to add some little stickers, some extra little lights, and like I said before, maybe some little bits of graffiti, that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's go and add a sticker first. What I mean by that is go and grab your yellow up the top here. Let's go and put a little triangle in. We'll outline that, put something in it. That's going to be one of our stickers. Have a bit of fun with it, you know. If you want to put a Hello Kitty sticker in, go and put a Hello Kitty sticker. It doesn't really matter what you put in. Go and grab your pink. We're going to go and put those lights in that I was telling you about. So you see that angle that we've got just there? We're going to put two lights in on this bit. We're going to go one just there, like a sausage shape. Let's put another one in. Just there, and again we'll outline that, we'll make that really pop out. Where else can we put one of those lights? I kind of like that light. Let's put one in here as well. And maybe a round bit. Where can we do a round bit? Let's put it up here. Look. Nice. That looks good. Give all of those bits a few seconds to dry. Whilst we're giving those a few seconds to dry, let's go in with a few more little black lines. Where can we add these black lines to then? So let's go in here. Again, not thinking about it too much, just chuck them in, see what works, see what doesn't work. If it doesn't work, don't worry, you can always take them out a little bit later. If it does work, just keep on doing it. Oh yeah, graffiti was the other bit we were going to put in, wasn't it? So I think on here I'm just going to put in a little bit of graffiti. What colour should we do? Let's go with aqua. Let's go and put an anarchy symbol in. Difficult to see that. I might give that a little bit of an outline later so that you can really see it. Might even colour over it again. You never know. Down the bottom I was going to add some extra cables in, was nice, so we'll put the shadow in on those cables first. Now when we put these cables in, and one thing to really remember when you're drawing with Posca Pens is it doesn't matter if you go over something, because you can always bring it back to to the front. So for example, we're going to go over some of these sections here, but we are going to make these lines disappear again. So it's no biggie. But let's go and put something like let's go with a cable that's coming out from there, off the back like that. Let's do another one that's coming out from here, going out the back like that. Just a couple of cables. Do we need a different colour cable? Would that work? Not entirely sure. Let's just leave it like that for the time being. When we've done, thing to remember with that, we did that with the deep grey. It's the bottom side of the cable. We are going to go in with a light grey on the top side of the cable as well. While that's drying though, while that cable's drying, just go and grab that 1M. We're going to go and finish off those other bits that we added in. Remember those lights and stickers, etc. Let's get in close. We did that little sticker, so let's go and outline that. So this is going to be like a little hazard sticker, so just round off the edges. And then inside that, a little exclamation mark. See how that looks like a little hazard sticker. Those lights, remember those lights. Let's go and do these two on here first. We're just going to outline them with the thinner pen. But then we're going to just send them back a little bit, send it a little bit deeper in by adding a bit of a shadow. So we're just going to thicken up the top part of that line, look. Just thicken it up. Just sends it back a little bit. Let's do the same. I'm going to put some lines in there, look, whilst we're in. Let's do the same with this light up here. And then let's colour this bit in just to send it back a little bit. Let's put some lines in there as well. Let's also put some circles in there. How's that looking? That looks pretty nice. I like that. Let's keep on going. Where are we going now? Let's move down a little bit. What have we got down here? That anarchy A symbol. Do we want to outline it? Let's try it. Adding the real faintest of outlines. So that we can see it. It's not too bad there. The light in here, we've got a little light in there. Round once, send it back. Down the bottom, let's fix these cables. Let's go and work on these cables next. So we've got the dark grey, let's go and put the light grey across the top. Now remember what I said about it doesn't matter if you go over stuff. Because we can bring it all back, tidy it all up. Just throwing those cables in first. We'll leave that to dry. We'll come back to that. A little look back at how it's going. It looks like it's going pretty well. Just a little bit of tidying up down the bottom. What else do we want to add in? Let's go in. Let's start having a little bit of fun with the white pen now. So with the white pen, we're just going to add some extra little reflections, just real tiny reflections. So it's a 5M, so I'm just going to tickle with the tip of the pen. So I'm just going to add some little tiny light sources here and there. Let's see how it works, shall we? So up at the top here, I'm going to make like this bit. Just a few little spots. Maybe there's a little bit at the top there as well. Just kind of where I'd expect to see little tiny bits of light. Across there. Up on this bit. Just tickling across dots and dashes, that kind of thing. Doesn't need to be too much. Don't forget you can always bring that back out if you want. Let's put a little reflection in that light there as well. That's looking nice. Let's put a few more down the front here. A bit in there. Again, not thinking about it too much, just chucking in those little bits. We are going to bring some of those black lines back to the front again. So you can see, like for this bit, for example, it's gone over quite a lot of the black line. We can always bring that back, so don't panic about stuff like that. Same up here, look, it's gone over the black line, just a little bit too much for me. Fab. What's next? Let's go and tidy up those cables down the bottom, shall we? Tidy up those cables down the bottom. Then I think really it's just a case of some little scratches and dents and spots and things, and then maybe a power line around the outside. So we're at the home straight now. I know this has been a long session, but we're nearly there. Hopefully you're enjoying this longer session because it is a little bit more detailed, a little bit more intricate than our usual stuff. Right, where we go. Let's grab that 1M pen. We're just going to tidy up these bits. So remember what I was saying about just bringing those black lines. Let's just go over that. Look, bring that black line to the front again. Same with just there. Bring the black line to the front. We will probably need a little tickle of aqua, emerald in there. Maybe emerald and then aqua to finish that off. But let's go around these cables. Fairly wonky. Let's put some little lines going across as well. Same for this bit. Little outline first. Little lines going across. In there, we do need the outside line to have a bit of a power line to it. So I'm gonna go around it. I'm gonna put in a thicker black power line. Then I'm gonna go for a lilac and then a lavender and see how that looks. So a slightly different approach to how we normally add power lines, but we'll see how it looks. got to try these things out. Before we do that though, let me just quickly whip in with that little bit of emerald. So you remember that little bit that was sticking out there? There you go. Make it disappear. Actually, whilst we've got some of these colours in our hand, let's go and add some extra bits with the colours, because I did say about playing around with texture. So let's do it with the main colour first. So with that emerald, why not just... Do you know what I mean? Don't think about it too much, just put some little shapes in. Same with the blues. Definitely down here I've got a little bit of space. Let's just put a few little spots in there. Back in with the black, thin black pen. I'm now going to go and tidy up some of these. Remember those little white bits, those little reflections we put in? Some of those reflections went onto the black line. I didn't really want that to happen. So I'm just going to bring that black line back to the top. It's mainly there, above there. But yeah, like I say, while you've got that black pen in your hand, this is where we can just do some like little quote marks. Don't think about it too much. Maybe little black spots in there somewhere. Throw it all in. Have some fun with it. Let's go and build ourselves a power line. So home straight now. Going in with a black power line first. And then, like I say, with a view to then maybe using that lilac and lavender in the background a little bit. I think that might work. But for the time being, just thickening off the outside line, just framing our piece. Try not to smudge anything you've done. You know, just take your time on it. Pause the video if you need to. I'm constantly going just to make the video a little bit more interesting for you. But if you need to pause it, wait for stuff to dry, then do that. Really liking how this is turning out. I'm so worried now that the next power line is going to ruin everything. Maybe what we'll do is we'll just draw in some sections. So yeah, forget about the power line. Let's not take any risks with that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw in some little sections with the lilac and the lavender. See how that looks. So let's try that out. So just like, for example, over here, just think a little section there. Yeah, that looks alright. Let's complement that with some lilac as well. Let's go and put a lilac bit in here. Maybe a little bit that's crossing over. Like I say, just trying to add something into the background there to make it a little bit more interesting. Last bit, we'll put that background on. Let's just bring those black lines back to the front. So specifically in here, look. Just tidying all of that up. I think that was the only section. Yeah. What do you reckon? Let's leave it like that, shall we? I am pretty happy with that. Gonna get a little black pen, just the tiniest of signatures down there. Oh, actually, there's a little bit of something there. Never mind. I usually put the signature on right at the end, but let's stick it on now. Definitely need to find a place to stop now. You know what it's like, you only know you've gone too far when you've gone too far. Couple of little drips. Stop. There we go, that'll do. That's finished. Nice little sci-fi piece there. Main thing you've learned is adding these little reflections in, how to send lights to the back by strategically placing the shadows, how to add all these shadows in. The fact that we're using fat lines and thin lines together, that's what really makes this work. And yeah, just the colour combos in general, I think really make that work. Right, have fun. Don't forget to tag me in any of your creations. I love to see what you've been drawing, especially if you use different colours. You know, mix it up a bit. Use some different colours in yours. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next video.